I'm Phoebe Morris, and I almost didn't show up that Saturday morning. 23 years of writing code in silence, and my coworker Dana thinks volunteering at a food bank will fix my social anxiety. I rehearsed 3 polite exit strategies on the bus ride over, laptop bag strapped across my chest like armor. The community center smelled like industrial coffee and good intentions. I signed in, found my assigned group, and positioned myself near the back wall where I could disappear properly. Then she walked in. Tessa Patterson arrived 15 minutes late, wind-blown and unapologetic, brown hair catching the fluorescent lights. Green eyes that seemed to notice everything, including me trying to blend into the folding tables. The volunteer coordinator immediately assigned her to our small group of 6. "Hey everyone, I'm Tessa." She introduced herself to each person individually, including the elderly man who was clearly more interested in his crossword puzzle. When she reached me, those green eyes held mine a beat longer than necessary. "And you're Phoebe, right? I saw your name tag." I nodded. Words felt impossible. We got assigned to sort canned goods in the back room. I calculated how long I needed to stay before leaving wouldn't seem rude. 20 minutes, tops. Then Tessa picked up a can of soup and squinted at the barcode. How do these scanning systems actually work? Like, what makes the computer recognize all those lines? Most people accepted my one-word answers. Tessa didn't. She kept asking follow-up questions, genuinely curious about database architecture and inventory management. Before I realized it, I was explaining algorithm efficiency while organizing dented cans of tomatoes. 2 hours later, we were still talking. She told me about moving here from some small Indiana town, about opening her own salon 6 months ago with nothing but savings and stubbornness. I found myself mentioning things I never shared. How I'd been coding since college. How Chicago felt safer when you stayed invisible. "Invisible seems lonely," she said, stacking the last of the green beans. The volunteer coordinator called time. People started gathering their things. Tessa handed me a business card for her salon, fingers brushing mine briefly. "In case you ever need a haircut," she said, "or want to talk more about databases." Walking to the bus stop, I realized I'd never once thought about leaving early. My laptop bag felt lighter somehow. The business card stayed warm in my pocket the entire ride home. That night, I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. My black hair, streaked with silver, hung past my shoulders in desperate need of a trim. I'd been cutting it myself for 3 years. Maybe it was time for a change. 3 weeks later, my reflection was still haunting me. The silver streaks had multiplied, and my usual self-administered trim looked like I'd used garden shears. Dana mentioned a new salon 2 blocks from our office during lunch break. "The owner's really talented," she said, stabbing her salad. "Some woman named Tessa who moved here from Indiana." I kept my face neutral, but my pulse quickened. Pure coincidence, I told myself. Convenient location, nothing more. I called that afternoon, hands trembling slightly as I dialed the number on the business card I'd been carrying for weeks. Tessa's Cuts. "This is Tessa. It's Phoebe. From the food bank. I need a haircut." A pause. Then warmth flooded her voice. "I was wondering when you'd call." The salon was smaller than I'd expected. All warm, amber lighting and exposed brick. Tessa wore dark jeans and a soft gray sweater, her brown hair pulled back loosely. She looked even better than I remembered. "So, what are we doing with this?" She ran her fingers through my hair, and I nearly jumped out of the chair. "Just a trim. Nothing dramatic." "Trust me." I nodded, not trusting my voice. Her hands were steady and sure, sectioning and cutting with practiced precision. She talked easily, asking about my work, my neighborhood, drawing answers out of me with gentle questions and comfortable silences. The mirror showed my hair taking shape, sleek and modern, framing my face in ways I'd forgotten were possible. "You've got incredible bone structure," she said, brushing loose hair from my shoulders. Why hide it? I met her eyes in the mirror. Something passed between us, electric and dangerous. I've never been good at being seen, I admitted. Maybe you just haven't found the right person to see you. When she finished, I looked like someone else entirely, someone who might actually belong in the world. I'm walking toward the river, she said, untying her apron. Want company? We're heading the same direction anyway. The November air was sharp, leaves crunching under our feet along the riverwalk. We talked about nothing important, everything important. When our hands brushed accidentally near the bridge, neither of us pulled away immediately. This is me, I said, stopping at my building's entrance. See you around, Phoebe. I watched her continue down the sidewalk until she disappeared around a corner. Inside my apartment, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror and barely recognized myself. The woman staring back looked awake, alive, dangerous. That night, I lay in bed replaying every word, every glance, every accidental touch. Something unfamiliar burned in my chest, something I'd buried so deep I'd forgotten it existed. I was in trouble. Without planning it, Saturday morning coffee became our ritual. The corner cafe near Tessa's Salon, same table by the window, steam rising from our cups while Chicago woke up around us. For 2 weeks straight, I showed up at 9 sharp. So did she. Dana noticed first. You're different, she said Monday morning, studying me like I was code she couldn't debug. Present. It's unsettling. Tessa's neighbor Viv mentioned it too, apparently. She talks about you constantly, Tessa admitted over her latte, grinning. Viv thinks you're good for me. Am I? Jury's still out. But something shifted that third Saturday. Tessa leaned forward, green eyes serious. Can I ask you something personal? My defenses snapped up instantly. Depends. Have you ever been in love? Really? Genuinely in love? The question hit like ice water. All my careful walls slammed back into place. That's not your business. Her face fell slightly. Phoebe, I didn't mean to. I should go. I stood abruptly, grabbing my jacket. I have things to do. I didn't show up the next Saturday. Or answer her single text. You don't have to run. I'm not chasing you. I read it 17 times. The third Saturday, I went back. She was there, same table, 2 cups waiting. She didn't mention my absence. We talked about safe things, weather, work, the new bookstore down the street. At dusk, we found ourselves walking to the river bridge. Lake Michigan wind cut through everything, but neither of us suggested going inside. We stood at the railing, watching dark water move below us. I'm scared, I said finally. Of what? This. You. Whatever this is becoming. She turned to face me fully. What if it becomes something good? I looked at her then. Really looked. The wind whipped her brown hair across her face, and those green eyes held mine steadily. No judgment, no demands. Just patience I didn't deserve. I turned toward her first. The kiss was soft, brief, barely there, but it landed like a verdict. When we pulled apart, my heart was hammering against my ribs. Damn, she whispered. Yeah. We stood there breathing visible clouds into the cold air, neither moving away. Something fundamental had shifted between us, and we both felt it. What happens now? I asked. I don't know, but I'd like to find out. Walking home, my lips still tingling, I realized I'd never kissed another woman before, had barely kissed anyone in years. But with Tessa, it felt like remembering something I'd forgotten I knew. That night, lying awake staring at the ceiling, I touched my lips and smiled in the dark. Sunday evening, Tessa and I were at Giovanni's, a quiet Italian place near her apartment. We'd moved past coffee to actual dinners, heads tilted close across red checkered tablecloths, talking in low voices about everything and nothing. I was explaining a particularly frustrating database migration when I spotted Dana 3 tables away, eyes wide with recognition. Monday morning felt different the moment I stepped off the elevator. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Knowing glances followed me to my desk. The entire 20th floor buzzed with barely contained curiosity. Dana appeared at my cubicle before I'd even logged in. "So, Tessa's salon owner, huh? It's not what you think." "Really?" Because it looked pretty clear what I was seeing. My chest tightened. The familiar panic crept up my throat. 23 years of being invisible, and now everyone was looking. My hands shook as I tried to focus on my screen. At 10:30, Claire Rodriguez, our department head, called me into her office. I sat across from her polished desk, bracing for damage control, HR meetings, awkward conversations about workplace appropriateness. "Phoebe, I've been watching your work for 5 years," Claire said, leaning back in her chair. "You're brilliant, but you've been hiding." I said nothing. "I've been waiting for you to stop disappearing into yourself. Whatever's changed recently. Keep it up. I'm promoting you to lead architect, effective next month." I stared at her, speechless. "You've earned this," she continued. "Your code is flawless, but more importantly, you're finally engaging with the team." Leadership noticed. "I don't understand." "You're present now, Phoebe. Whatever brought you out of your shell, it's working." I walked back to my desk in a daze. Lead architect, a position I'd dreamed about but never thought I deserved. My phone rang before I could process what had happened. "Phoebe? It's Rachel." My sister's voice from Portland, sharp and familiar. We talked maybe 3 times a year, usually around holidays or emergencies. "I heard through the family grapevine," she said without preamble, "about you and some woman named Tessa." My blood froze. "Rachel, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you're finally living your life?" Silence stretched between us. "Phoebe, I've been waiting 30 years for you to let someone in." I was starting to think you'd forgotten how. "You're not angry." She laughed, actually laughed. "Angry? I'm relieved. Mom and Dad never understood you, but I did. You were always different, always searching for something they couldn't give you. If this Tessa makes you happy, then I'm happy." After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen holding the phone, tears streaming down my face. Not from grief this time, but from something lighter. Relief. Acceptance I'd never expected. My phone buzzed with a text from Tessa. "Dinner tonight. I have news." "Me too." I typed back. Good news. For the first time in my adult life, everything was falling into place. I was walking to Tessa's salon Thursday afternoon, 2 cups of coffee balanced in my hands, when I saw him through the glass door. Tall, broad-shouldered, leaning against her station with the casual familiarity of someone who belonged there. Tessa stood across from him, arms crossed, face unreadable. Derek. Had to be. The name she'd mentioned once in passing, quickly changing the subject. I stopped on the sidewalk, coffee growing cold in my hands. Through the window, I watched him gesture animatedly while she listened with that polite, distant expression I recognized. The one she wore when clients overshared personal problems. He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away immediately. I turned around and walked home. For 3 days, I convinced myself I'd misread everything. That a 58-year-old woman with bad social wiring was no competition for someone's actual past. That whatever Tessa and I had been building was just her being kind to a lonely programmer who'd finally crawled out of her shell. My code at work became immaculate. I stayed late debugging systems that didn't need fixing, reorganizing databases that were already perfect. Dana stopped asking if I was okay after the second day of one-word responses. Wednesday night, I deleted Tessa's number from my phone. Then I restored it from backup. Then I deleted it again. Thursday evening, someone knocked on my apartment door. I almost didn't answer, but the knocking persisted, patient and steady. Tessa stood in my hallway, holding 2 cups of coffee from our usual place. "Derek is gone," she said, without preamble. "He was never the question. You are. I saw you with him." "I know." Viv mentioned someone walked by, then left. She stepped closer. "He drove up from Indianapolis unannounced, wanted to talk about getting back together. And I told him I was seeing someone who matters." My throat felt tight. "Tessa, can I come in? Please?" I stepped aside. She set the coffee on my kitchen counter, then turned to face me directly. "He was comfortable," she said. "Safe. Predictable. Everything I thought I wanted when I was 25 and scared of being alone. But I'm not 25 anymore. And I'm not scared of being alone. I'm scared of being with the wrong person." She moved closer, green eyes steady on mine. "You're not the wrong person, Phoebe." The kiss started soft, questioning, but deepened when I didn't pull away. Her hands found my face, fingers threading through my silver-streaked hair. This time, neither of us was afraid. When we broke apart, breathing hard, she rested her forehead against mine. "I sent him home yesterday," she whispered. "There was never really a choice to make." Outside my windows, the city hummed 20 floors below, but all I could hear was my heart hammering against my ribs and the quiet sound of Tessa breathing. "Stay," I said. "I was hoping you'd ask." The apartment was pale with early winter light when I woke up. Tessa lay beside me, brown hair spread across my pillow, breathing soft and even. The night before had been slow and warm, an unspoken language between 2 people who had stopped pretending they didn't want each other. Her fingers had traced patterns on my skin while I whispered her name into the darkness. When she moved above me, green eyes holding mine, everything else disappeared except the quiet sounds we made together and the way she said my name like a prayer. Now, in the gentle morning light, we sat at my kitchen table with coffee going cold between us. Neither of us was in a hurry to break the spell. "So what happens now?" Tessa asked. Not about last night, but about next month, then next year. I'd never made plans that included another person. But sitting there, watching steam rise from our cups while snow began to fall outside, I found myself talking about the future like it belonged to both of us. "I accept the promotion," I said. "You sign that proper lease on the Salon space, and we see what comes next. Together." She reached across the table. I took her hand without hesitation. Dana threw an obnoxious celebratory lunch the following week, inviting herself and Viv without asking permission. The 4 of us sat in a loud Italian restaurant on a Tuesday afternoon, and I laughed so hard I spilled water across the tablecloth. Nobody noticed the ghost I used to be. 2 new beginnings. Dana raised her glass with theatrical flourish. 2 old friends who don't give up on you. Tessa countered, eyes finding mine. Later, we walked back to the river bridge where everything had changed. Same spot, same cold wind off Lake Michigan, but nothing else the same. Tessa looped her arm through mine while snowflakes settled on my silver-streaked hair in her brunette waves. "I almost didn't show up that day," I said, watching dark water move below us. "To the volunteer thing. I almost left early. But you didn't." "No, I didn't." I thought about how close I'd come to missing all of this. The Saturday morning coffee rituals, the way she laughed at my terrible programmer jokes, the feeling of being truly seen by another person for the first time in my adult life. "Regrets?" she asked. "Only that it took me 58 years to find you." Tessa turned to face me fully, green eyes bright in the winter light. Good thing I'm patient. The first real snow of the season fell quietly on Chicago around us. For once, I didn't calculate the distance between myself and the rest of the world. I was exactly where I belonged.